Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment you are going to hear the voice of a man who will tell you some tremendously important facts.
Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm so incredibly excited to have Anita Moorjani, the all-time great author that talks about sensitives and empaths and has a wonderful book, Dying to Be Me, and What If This Is Heaven, and the new one, Sensitive is the New Strong. She's a best-selling author. I guess a good way to call it is the empath whisperer. She is very good at helping empaths understand who they are and has been through this amazing experience where she writes about unconditional love and near-death experience, and is just a huge, wonderful, loving author that you can't help to get to know her when you read her writings. So welcome to the Reality Revolution, Anita.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for having me here, and I'm excited to be on your show.
Well, thank you. Your first book is the one that really took off, Dying to Be Me, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So, a lot of people know you through that book. The story that you had is so positive and uplifting and amazing. It really resounded with me because I had sort of a near-death experience where some people came in and shot at me, and I was moments away, knew I was going to die. And knowing that I was alive afterwards, the experience of having that, I wish I could give it to everybody like a drug. Everybody have that moment when they realize how joyous and wonderful every single breath, every second is. That feeling when right before that everything's gonna be okay. There's this little feeling that clicked in. I didn't quite have as profound as what you had, but it changed me. I mean, I'm in the place I'm at. And so I just you're a reflection of me. I really felt it reverberated with me. So let's talk about that. Let's tell everybody a little bit about your story, how it all started out. You were suffering from cancer, and
Yes.
I have a tendency when I'm super nervous to talk too much when I'm talking to my heroes. So I'll let you tell the story, okay? Thank you.
Oh gosh, no, thank you. Yeah, that was so great what you said, and I will dive into my story. But you said something that I loved when you said when you had your experience, you wished you could just give it to everybody like a drug or something like that. And so that's exactly how I have felt since I had my near-death experience. I just wish everybody could experience that because it would change the world. It would really change the world. But yes, so I had cancer for 4 years. I had lymphoma, which spread throughout my lymphatic system. So it started in 2002, and by 2006, it had spread throughout my lymphatic system, where I had tumors the size of golf balls from the base of my skull, all around my neck and all my lymph nodes, all around my neck, under my arm, in my chest, and all the way down to my abdomen. And at that point, my body stopped absorbing nutrition. So I was losing weight. I weighed about 85 pounds. My muscles completely deteriorated. They atrophied, so I couldn't walk. I looked like a skeleton. I had to be transported in a wheelchair. My lungs were always filled with fluid, and I couldn't lie flat because if I lay flat, I would choke on the fluid. And I had these big open skin lesions, and I was hours away from death when I went into a coma. The doctors told my family that my organs had now shut down. They were shutting down one by one. And they said it was completely normal for me to now go into a coma because this was the dying process. So I was literally dying. While I was in the coma, my eyes were closed, and unbeknownst to everyone around me, I was actually aware of everything that was going on around me. So even though my physical body was laying there, eyes closed, in a complete coma, gone, like just no longer responding to anything, I felt myself as being away from my body, or bigger than my body, or expanded from my body. I didn't feel myself popping out, but it was like just an awareness, like, oh wow, I'm continuing to exist. I was aware that I was dying. I was aware my physical body was dying, but I was aware of everything that was happening around me, of the people around me, my family, the doctors, the nurses. I could hear everything they were saying, but I could hear things not just around my body, but outside of the room that I was in. I could hear conversations taking place beyond the room, out in the nurses' station. I could hear them and see them. I could see them talking to my husband and telling him, these are my final hours, and I'm not going to make it through the night, and things like that. I could see them, and I was aware at some point I started choking, and the doctor went in and used a syringe in my back and drew out fluid from my lungs. But all the pain was gone. Any sensation, any feeling from my body was gone. And any attachment to my body was gone. The fear was gone. I felt incredible. I felt light and I felt free. And even though I could see everything happening around me, it wasn't like I was looking at it with my physical eyes. It was like more like an awareness, because my physical eyes were closed. It was like I had 360-degree peripheral vision. I was aware of everything that was happening all around, above, below, around, outside the room. And I felt myself continuing to expand. And I felt like I was enveloped in this feeling of love, just love, unconditional love, nothing like I had ever experienced here in this physical life before. And all the fear and the pain and everything was gone. And then I became aware, because as I continued to expand, I became aware of other beings around me who were there to help me through this dying process. And I recognized some of them, not all, but I recognized some as being people from this lifetime, this life, who had passed on. And there was my dad, who had passed away 10 years prior to this experience. And this happened to me in 2006. And then there was my best friend, who had passed away 2 years prior. And they were there, and they wanted me to know that they had been with me through the cancer journey, and they had been helping me. And I just felt like this love was, this unconditional love was indescribable, because I had spent a lifetime of believing that I needed to prove myself to other people, and I needed to work hard at being worthy and deserving of love and approval. But here I was now, without my body, on the other side, feeling this pure, unconditional love just because I existed. It felt like I didn't need to do anything to win it, or I deserved it just because I existed, and it was always there for me. That was the understanding I felt. I reached a point where I had this clarity. It was like a state of what I just call a state of clarity, where I understood why I had the cancer. I understood how it was that thoughts and choices I had made through my life had caused me to get sick. And I understood how it was that I had repressed my energy in such a way that my body literally expressed the cancer as an outlet for the energy that I had repressed through my lifetime. And I understood that I was all of us, not just me, but all of us beings are powerful spiritual beings. And our bodies are actually magical, but I had never known that. I had lived a life believing I was disempowered, but we are a lot more powerful than we have ever been led to believe. And so much unfolded. Like, I started to see other lifetimes, and they looked like they all existed simultaneously. It wasn't like there was a sequence as to past, present, future. I then felt I had a choice as to whether to come back into this physical life or to continue in that realm. And no part of me wanted to come back, because I was suffering, my body was dying, my family was suffering, taking care of me. But then I started to realize that if I chose to come back, that there were gifts waiting for me. My dad wanted me to know, and my best friend wanted me to know that there were gifts waiting for me on this side. And I started to understand that now that I knew how powerful we actually are, if I chose to come back now with this new knowledge, my body would heal, and it would heal very quickly. And my dad said to me, now that you know the truth of who you really are, go back and live your life fearlessly. And that was when I started to come out of the coma. Of course, I have shortened everything that happened, but I had been in the coma for about 36 hours. And then I started to come out of the coma, and everybody around me was really shocked. My family, the doctors told my family, don't raise your hopes, because she could be just coming in and out of the coma, but she's still very critically ill. But as the days went by, the following day and the following day after that, they noticed the tumors were shrinking. They could visibly feel it, visibly see it and feel it with their hands. And by 4 or 5 days later, the tumors had shrunk by 60 to 70%. And they couldn't explain it. And the thing is that, and for the first couple of days, I was extremely like groggy, and it was like I had one foot on each side. So I was already starting to say to my family, it's not my time to go. And Dad is here. Dad's telling me that it's not my time to go. And while I was on the other side, I saw that if I chose to come back, I saw sort of how my life would pan out. I kind of saw that I would be talking to people, thousands of people, but I didn't know what I would be talking to them about, because, you know, it hadn't happened yet. So I was like, so I didn't know what I would be talking to them about, but it just felt like I had this purpose. So anyway, as I was coming out of it, I was saying to my family that Dad is here, and he says it's not my time, and I haven't fulfilled my purpose. So they were thinking that I was a bit delirious, and they didn't know what was going on. And then I started to recognize the nurses, the doctors who had been treating me while I was in the coma, the ones who I'd never even seen before that. And I would say that, oh, and you said this, and then you said this. And they were like, how could you have heard us? You were in a coma. And one of them said, we didn't even say that while we were in the room. We said that to your husband down the hallway at the nurse's station. So they started to realize that something had happened. And then about 3.5 weeks after the near-death experience, they were having trouble finding any traces of cancer in my body. They were doing biopsies, and it was painful. It was awful. They were doing lymph node biopsies, bone marrow biopsies, and they just wanted to keep feeding me with drugs. And I said, but you know, if you can't find it, it's fine. Can't I just go home? Right. And they said, no, cancer doesn't disappear like that. It's not possible. We're going to keep looking until we find it.
Right. It does.
And
you said in the book that you felt like it was going to be okay if you just chose to go on, because there was a party that just wanted to, it felt so good. Yep. And you were like, you knew that either choice was going to be okay. That there is that freeing. It wasn't like you had to come back, because you knew whatever choice you made was going to be perfect, right?
Yes, exactly. I knew that it would work itself out, because what I realized there, one of the things that I discovered in that state of clarity was that my husband and my purpose was linked. And so Danny's and my purpose was linked, and we hadn't completed our purpose yet. And yet, I knew that if I still chose not to come back, it would be okay, because, and this is weird, I'm saying it would be okay, but the knowledge or the understanding was that he would actually cross over and join me very soon after if I chose to stay on that side, because he would not be able to complete his purpose. It was like we had chosen to come to this lifetime to be together. And in that moment, even his continuing to be here was hinged on my choice in that moment. And I don't say that to be be disrespectful to his life. It's not that his life is dependent on me, but it was just that it was a joint choice. It's like our journey continues, even if it's on the other side, even if it's into other lifetimes.
Right.
But so in that moment, it hinged on whether I stayed there or came back here. Now he was here, willing me to come back. He was, and it was something like he had as much of a pull on me coming back as I did of having a choice there of coming back or not, because I felt his pull pulling me back here.
I love to hear those stories of pre-incarnative choices that you become aware of in your current incarnation, where two people choose before their life to be together for a purpose. And it's amazing how you guys met, right? I mean, when you chose all the way before, and you just kind of probably randomly met, right?
We met, and this is going to sound crazy, but we met at a club, like at a bar. I was with my girlfriend, and she wanted to meet him, and she had actually asked him to come. I'd never met him. I'd never heard of him. Right. She asked him to come along because she was interested in him because she liked him. And when he walked in to the club or the bar or whatever it was, so I was with this girlfriend, and he walked in, and he just started to talk to me, and there was like this recognition. She was annoyed because she had invited him because she liked him, but we just clicked. There was this recognition. But here's the thing I want you to get, is that we were living in Hong Kong, and the both of us, our parents, his parents and my parents, come from a part of India that is called Hyderabad, Sindh, which is now Pakistan, but was India at that time. So his dad and my dad knew each other as children. They went to the same school in the same village in India. And his dad moved to Hong Kong. My dad moved to Hong Kong. He went to a British school. I went to a British school. We both grew up in Hong Kong. He speaks the same 3 languages I do, which is a dialect, an Indian dialect, which is the same. There's so many Indian dialects. He speaks the same one I do because his parents are from the same part of India as mine are. They went to the same school. We both speak Cantonese because we grew up in Hong Kong. We both read and write fluent English because we both went to British schools in Hong Kong because Hong Kong was a British colony, but we went to 2 different schools. And there aren't that many British schools in Hong Kong. Most of the schools were Chinese schools, but both of us went to British private schools, 2 different ones. And both of us literally had parallel upbringings and never met each other until I was 29 years old.
But it all worked out perfectly. It's amazing how all of the machinery behind the scenes is moving you guys to meet at that club at that time. So
and at that time, the way we clicked was like, wow, we both have such similar backgrounds. Right. It's like, and he actually said that it was as if he recognized me and he knew that I was the one. He tells me that from the day he met me, he knew that we were going to be married from that very meeting at the club.
Wow. So I want to talk a little bit about What If This Is Heaven, another amazing book of yours. It really goes over a lot of myths. But a lot of people, I've heard spiritual teachers teach that, the earth is hell. Earth is this place where we're going through the furnace, and it's all the hard stuff we're learning, and all the good stuff is some other place later on. And so that belief by itself changes our world a little bit, because we always have this in the future thing where we can truly experience the love of God, when in fact, it's with us in this moment all the time. And it's such a powerful realization. I wanted you just to talk a little bit more about that idea.
So I too grew up with the belief that I had to do things to deserve nirvana or heaven in the afterlife. So we find ourselves running on this treadmill, trying to build up positive karma and thinking that at some future time we're going to get this reward. But what if you realize that you can create this heaven right here and right now? And it starts really by realizing, first of all, that you are an amazing, powerful, magnificent spiritual being that actually chose to come here. You actually wanted to come here to experience physical life. Because one of the things I realized about my near-death experience is that even though it was amazing and I was filled with love, I understood in that realm why I wanted to come into the physical. And I understood that the reason that I had suffered and struggled and even got sick was because no one ever taught me that the most important thing is to love yourself. Every lesson I had learned was the opposite to what I really needed to know to live a life that felt like heaven. Everything that I had learned, with the by well-intentioned people, by our well-intentioned education system, our culture, our society, and everything that molds us. I call all this our marinade. Our well-intentioned marinade wants us to survive, and they teach us all of this. But what we don't realize is that everything we learn is actually teaching us to live a hellish existence. And we actually need the opposite. If we want to create heaven here, we need to learn the opposite. And so that's what if this is heaven is about. What if that when you have learned that it's selfish to love yourself, actually, what if that the most selfish people are actually the ones who don't love themselves? And that's why it's all about me, because they actually don't love themselves and they never learned to, and now they're overcompensating. What if actually the most selfless thing you can do is to love yourself, and from a young age learn to fill your own cup, and then you kind of feel like, like you're so overflowing with love that all you want to do is give and help other people, but you're helping them from a full cup. Because when I have done workshops and when I've done seminars, I ask people that what would it take for all your needs to get met? Every single need you have, what would it look like? So I ask them to imagine what it would look like, what it would feel like. And then I say, okay, let's go there. Let's visualize you are there. Every need is met, financial need, health need, everything is met. And they're met because you've allowed yourself to meet them. Because the one thing I'll say is, for people who are attracted to spiritual teachings, mostly are empaths, they're very bad at receiving, and that's why their needs aren't met. So I say, let's say you've opened up your receiving muscle, you've opened up to receiving, you've allowed yourself to receive to the point where every need is now met. Now, every need is met. Your travel needs are met. You've traveled the world, you've seen every place, you've got all the money you need, every need is met. Now, what brings you the most satisfaction, desire? What do you want to do? To the person, every single person says, we want to help the planet. We want to serve the planet. Not one does not say that. Either it's serve the planet, or to help animals, or to help other people, or to help the homeless, or to feed the poor, or, it's some form of service. But the reason why it's not happening is because everybody is in survival mode, and they're in survival mode because they don't give themselves permission to have their needs met.
Exactly.
And so, self-love and receiving. Yeah.
When I'm helping people out, they want to be of service, they want to do good things, but they got to pay their bills. They got the mortgage due. And so you're right. Once they spend a little time on themselves, being okay with being successful or happy or abundant, they, like you say in your book, it's allowing, not attracting, allowing yourself to have that abundance.
Yes.
Then you can start to serve other people. I see it every time when people have all their needs met, when they're happy, their first instinct is, I need to start helping other people.
Yes, because you want other people to feel that happiness. It gives us so much pleasure. And so that's why I always say, hence my book, What If This Is Heaven? The first thing to do is to learn to receive. receive gracefully without feeling an obligation that you have to repay. And because most of us who are particularly empaths and people who are attracted to spiritual teachings, we're very bad at receiving. And the minute you receive something, you feel this guilt. You feel, how am I going to pay them back? No, just receive. Maybe that's the universe's way of filling your cup so you can pay it forward. And there's so many other things I talk about that we have been taught back to front. I mean, the other thing is we are taught to completely suppress our egos. And one of the things I believe is that particularly if you're an empath, you need to have a healthy ego, because people who are, again, attracted to spiritual teachings, people who are empaths, most of them already have what I call a regressed ego. And so much so that when you are someone who's an empath and you are somebody who is who wants to help others, people like that tend to be struggling and martyrs and downtrodden. But if you had a healthy ego, you would allow yourself to take care of yourself. You would allow yourself to be seen, to be heard, and then you can go out and change the world and help other people.
Exactly. It's a perfect formula, which brings me to sensitive is the new strong. I really wonder, especially since you've been talking about this for so long, if we did a statistical survey, a study of the world right now, we are becoming more empathic. The whole world, it's not just there are empaths here and there aren't here. The world is just slowly like rising tide, like everybody is becoming more and more empathic. You can see it in political discussions with responses to events that happen. The empathy is increasing. So I've noticed it with myself as my empathy is definitely more magnified than before. I wasn't this empathic when I was younger, but now it's like a new thing I need to learn how to deal with. I'll go into a movie theater and now I'm very empathic. I'll just be sitting not close to anybody, but it might be a bad movie, but the emotion just wells up and I can feel it from all the people around me. Or just a trip to the Walmart can be kind of like a scary ordeal, because I'm feeling everybody's feelings and emotions. So I want to talk about that because your book comes at a perfect time. Everybody needs this book to deal with this new sensitive that we're dealing with. It's sort of a how-to manual, a kind of a guide to that. So what do I do? I love going to the movies, I love going to those. How do I allow myself to feel? Because I think this is sort of a superpower, that I can feel these feelings, but at the same time, it can be overwhelming. I'm sure that you understand what I'm talking about. So
totally.
What is the steps to embracing and feeling like this is okay? I don't need to be afraid of this, because when you're an empath, you're feeling the negative feelings just as much as the positive, right? So
yes, you're feeling the negative and the positive. So the first step really is to be aware of it, just like what's happening with you, you're aware of it. So I think you were always an empath, but you're just becoming more aware, or it's coming to the surface now. Okay. It's almost like we're going through some kind of a planetary shift, where people who have that trait, it's almost being called upon right now.
Right.
And the reason why it can feel overwhelming is because you have not learned. I mean, I hadn't either, so this is not a judgment towards you, but all of us had not learned to deal with it. And so this is what we can loosely define as our sixth sense, but it's 6 and more. I believe that we are more 6 or more sensory beings, right. But we have suppressed ourselves to live in a 5 sensory world, in a world that is created by people who believe that we are 5 sensory beings. So we've lived a life of trying to squash that 6th sense. But now the way the world is changing, and because of all the things that are happening, whether it's to do with the pandemic, whether it's to do with government, whatever it is, and media, social media, mass media has made news travel faster than the speed of light. And because of that, and because of algorithms giving people what they want to hear, people are getting different news, which is causing a lot of divisiveness with each faction thinking they are the only one that's right. And so with all of this that's going on, we're like a pressure cooker. So those of us who have this sixth sense, which we have suppressed and have never dealt with, it's now all like exploding to the surface. So the first thing I would say is, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it, because it is a gift. It is your survival mechanism kicking in. That's why you have it. That's why it's there. You have actually suppressed the part of you, your antennas, if you will, the part of you that helps you survive. You've spent a lifetime suppressing it because you've lived in a world where people don't believe that such a thing exists. The way I explain it, for example, in the book, it's almost like you've been told from the time you were a child that you're blind, that so you've been told that you can't see, and so you close your eyes, and you were told to keep your eyes closed. And if you accidentally open your eyes and you see things, you're told that, no, don't do that. That's distracting. It'll take you off your path of life, and and it's bad. So keep your eyes closed if you want to fit in. It's just like being told, like when you have intuition, when you're sixth sensory, it's like, oh, that's your imagination. And or when you see people, you're told those are your imaginary friends. Don't talk about it if you want to fit in. So imagine you were told that about your eyesight. And so you had to walk around with your eyes closed. And so this is what it is. Your sixth sense is that. And so suddenly so basically your eyesight is a gift. It's actually a gift, and it helps you navigate this world. You have actually suppressed one of your fundamental senses in order to fit in. And so, and just imagine if we had all done that with our eyesight, because people believed that we are four sensory beings. Imagine people believe we're four sensory beings, and they said you have to suppress your eyesight. The world they would have created would be one for people who don't have sight. It would be created for blind people. Right. And so the technology that would have been created for people who don't have sight, to help them navigate the world without sight. Your language would be created for people who are blind. It would be, so you wouldn't have language for color or for sky or for bird because you can't see them. Your language would be very different. Your fashion would be very different because it would be very functional. You wouldn't care about how things look. You wouldn't have art. So the world would be very different because it would be for four sensory people. Right now, what's happening is the world has been created for five sensory people, but people are waking up and realizing, wait a minute, I'm not a five sensory being. I'm a six sensory being, but there's no language for that. But this sixth sense is my gift. It's going to help me navigate this next phase of our lives, which are more complex. And that's why I keep saying it's a gift. Empaths think that it is a burden, that it's a curse because I'm feeling things more. It's making me sick and I'm sensing. But no, when you know how to use it right, it is the gift, just like eyesight in a blind world. This is the gift that's going to help you navigate the next phase of our life.
So I wanted to talk about that a little bit more. As my empathy has grown, I also sort of noticed, just as like if I was sitting back as a scientist, there's like empath projectors. Like let's use your analogy. Imagine if they told us our whole lives we couldn't hear, and so we ignore what we hear with sounds, and there's somebody that's sitting next to you that's screaming at the top of their lungs, just very annoying sound, but you're supposed to live in a world where you can't hear. There's these emotional projectors that you become aware of as you become more empathic that are like screaming their emotions. Some are good, and some empaths themselves are very good at projecting out their emotions than others. But do you understand that this concept? I'm sort of, how do you deal with the screamer?
Okay, so that's a great question, great analogy that you did about the hearing. So basically, what you're saying is that when you can't hear and somebody is screaming and screaming, it doesn't bother you. But suddenly your hearing awakens, and that screaming is extremely loud to the point of being overwhelming.
Right.
So using that analogy, and I hope I got that right because I lost
Yes.
you for a bit there.
That's perfect.
So using that analogy, which is a brilliant one. So what now happens is that you realize that, oh my God, this screaming is awful. It's overwhelming. What empaths are currently doing is that the fact that they can now hear this screaming, they think there's something wrong with them. So this is the most important thing that I want people to know, is that they think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I need to figure out what's wrong with me so that I can block my ears and never open it back up again. And so we think that we need to do something to close off our ears. And because we're talking about empathy, what we do is we tend to search for answers and help that actually shuts down that ability. You see, so that is the mistake we make. We make the mistake of saying, there's something wrong with me. I need to shut down this ability to now hear sound. My point is, you have actually developed something that's going to help you navigate life even better. The idea is not to shut down your ability to hear the sound, but it's to move away from this noise while you then work with other people who are willing to realize that they have the gift of hearing and work together with them to come up with maybe technology to be able to turn the volume of what you're hearing from the outside world high or low, depending on what you are around. And so basically what you're doing is you are now seeking out other people who are also empaths, so that you can talk about solutions of how you can use your gift in a way that helps you to navigate life in a more efficient way. Like maybe in this case, I would say, if it is about hearing, I would say, okay, you need to be aware that it's that person and that there's going to be others. So distance yourself from it, or wear earplugs. You would wear earplugs while you're next to that person. But when you're not next to that person and you're out in nature and you want to hear the sounds of the water and all, take off your earplugs. But in a world of deaf people, earplugs would not exist, but you would come up with them, you would invent them. So these are the tools you would develop to help you. So now shift that over to empaths. With empaths, basically what I've done in this book and what I do now, like even now what I'm going to do is give you some tools as empaths, which I want you to know are perfectly acceptable tools that work. But when we're dealing in this 5-sensory world, you will come across people who will say that this is woo-woo, and they will try and debunk your tools, or even debunk the fact that you're a 6-sensory being. And remember, the reason they're doing it is because they don't feel it. It is exactly like the deaf person who's never had hearing before has no idea what it feels like to hear. And there's no way you can prove to them what it is you're experiencing. The blind person living in a world where everybody around them is also blind, and if they say to you that, oh, there's no scientific evidence of what you're saying, and you're trying to explain to them about colors and what you can see, and they say, no, give it to me in scientific terms. What is science for somebody, for a society where nobody in the society can see, and they're 4-sensory beings? For them, science is what can be explained and proved to them to be able to understand within their 4 senses. How do you explain sight to a 4-sensory being, or a community of 4-sensory beings? In the same way, we cannot use five sensory science for six sensory stuff. You have to even change the metrics of the science of the testing that you do. So I hope I'm making sense here
Yes,
so far.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so basically, in order to even create new metrics, and this is the kind of thing I'm talking about in this book, that we need new metrics of what defines strength. We need new metrics that allow sensitivity, empathy, sixth sensory being to be considered a strength and not woo-woo and not stuff that has to be defined by physical five sensory science. We need new metrics because it is a thing.
Help me to differentiate. The problem with empathy is that you're feeling it in your own body. It's a feeling, right?
Yes.
So how do I differentiate that feeling is not my own, and then this feeling is my own? Is there a technique or idea or process that helps you to kind of clarify what is coming from externally and what's internal?
Yes, so a couple of things. So in fact, even for this question and even your previous questions, one of the techniques I use, or one of the tools that I tend to use, is a form of visualization. And it's stronger, and I hesitate to use even the word visualization because, again, words are very limiting, but it's something a lot stronger or goes deeper than visualization. People that are, and sometimes I even use the word imagination. When you are an empath, when you do have a strong intuition, you are somebody who is very visionary. You are somebody who is very intuitive. You are someone who is great at visualization. You are somebody who, if you are an artist, if you are a musician, if you are a healer, if you are somebody who is, as I said, intuitive, if you are psychic, then you are a sixth sensory or more being. You are an empath. You just are. And these are the people that have, up until now, in many ways, been marginalized because we don't always value what they contribute to the world in the same way that we have valued five sensory beings who are more who have the louder voices and who are more aggressive and successful on a more physical level. So the empaths have very strong imaginations, and our imaginations have been dismissed as it's only your imagination, but actually your imagination is your doorway to the other side. It's your doorway to your soul when you learn how to use it. So I get into that quite a bit about how to use your imagery, how to use your imagination, and it can help you even with healing your body, even with helping you with illnesses, and helping you with separating your energy, your emotions from other people's emotions. Although I offer many other exercises, including exercises like just writing and allowing yourself to see what comes up when you write things. But imagery for me helps a lot. I offer up meditations. I offer up grounding. When you earth yourself, when you ground yourself with Mother Earth, like if you go and put your bare feet on the ground or on the sand, what happens is you actually align yourself with the rhythm of the earth. And when you do that, whatever is not yours starts to fall away from you. I often also use the example of Michelangelo. When Michelangelo used to carve these beautiful statues of angels, he was asked one time, like, how do you carve these beautiful statues of angels just from a block of stone or a block of marble, and without any plans or drawings? And he said, The angel is always there. I just chip away until I set the angel free.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he's chipping away at what is not part of the angel. And this is what I encourage people to do, is let go of what is not you. So one of the things that I stress over and over again, this is not about you going and learning to do more and be more and adding more to the repertoire of things that you've done and how do I do this? No, it's actually about undoing. It's actually about letting go of what is not you, letting go of what you don't identify with, letting go of the energies of other people if it doesn't resonate with you. So it's about turning inward. Go out in nature, ground yourself in with Mother Earth, turn off the noise from the outside world. Even if you have to be a hermit for a couple of days, but definitely turn off social media, digital media, mass media, turn it off so you're not being infiltrated. That's how you get to know what is not you. So turn it all off and then go inward, and everything that doesn't feel joyful, that doesn't make your heart sing, let it go. Just let it go. Until you let go of everything that is not you, chip away at the parts of the marble that's not part of the angel, the parts of the marble that's not you, and set that angel free.
You mentioned something, I think what if this is heaven? The spiritual seeker is always taught and thinking about, we got to be positive all the time, right? You say that's sort of a myth. We don't have to always be thinking positive thoughts.
No.
Explain your revelation there.
Okay, so let's go back to the idea of the angel, and so the angel in the block of marble. You want to chip away at what is not you, and you don't want to be something that's not you. When you are saying, "Oh, I got to be more positive," you're not saying, "I got to be more me." You're saying, "I got to be more positive." So what you're saying is, who I am is not perfect. I need to be more. So you're adding more marble. You're the angel adding more marble onto you. I got to do this. I got to be this. No, you don't even have to think about being positive or negative when you think in terms of, I got to let go of what is not me. Because when you let go of everything that's not you, you let go of the burden of trying to win approval. You let go of the burden of seeking approval or trying not to disappoint people. You let go of all these burdens. That's what you're chipping away at so that you can set yourself free. Who you are is the beautiful soul you came here to be. You came here as a beautiful soul to express yourself. You have to allow that soul to be free and express itself fully. For you to say that, oh, I have to work at being more positive, you are saying that that facet of the divine, that soul, is fundamentally flawed, that you have to tame it and make it more positive. No. The reason why we often believe that we're fundamentally flawed is because we have accumulated so much baggage. We are now that block of marble that's hiding the angel. And then we work with that block of marble thinking, okay, this marble now has this block of marble, which doesn't look great. It's a blob trying to navigate this world. Now we have to be more, do more, accumulate more, learn more how-tos to get by in this world. Whereas it's the other way around. We have to learn to be more positive, and we have to learn this. No, it's about let go, let go, let go, let go, lighten up, lighten up. Get down to that authentic soul, that beautiful soul, that piece of the divine that has chosen to express itself through this body. That's what you want.
It's beautiful. And so just briefly, I want to go back to that feeling, which you described so well, of unconditional love. And it's not a bodily feeling. I wish there was a way we could describe it. I've had it for just a brief flash. I know you got the wonderful joy to experience for longer, and I guess we all experience it in eternity, but that feeling of unconditional love is a game changer. It just means there's no guilt. It means that there's nothing to worry about, that you're not doing it wrong. You meet so many people that are so judgmental of themselves and so judgmental of their lives, and think that we got to prove ourselves, like you say in your book. We have to have the right karma. We got to be doing. It's a scoreboard in our mind of to accomplish everything. But this love is unconditional. It's overwhelmingly unconditional. You are perfect no matter what. Right.
Yes, and a lot of people misinterpret it. Then this is why, like you, I wish that I could bottle it and that people could experience it, then they
Right.
would get it. Because they misinterpret it into believing that, oh, does that mean I could go commit a crime and there's nothing to forgive and I'm
Right.
loved unconditionally? No, the point is when you feel this, you won't want to commit a crime.
You would
You
never
won't
for a
want
second.
to. You would never for a second. You won't
Yeah.
want to hurt anybody. You wouldn't want to. That's
Right.
the point.
So I talk a lot about on my podcast. I've had a lot of people I've interviewed talk about the new earth and read about this new earth, this change, spiritual change on the planet. And so you mentioned it briefly that, maybe we're becoming more empathic, but you're around spiritual people all the time. And it just feels like, especially the last several years, something is happening. More and more people are going through these spiritual awakenings. It feels like our reality is becoming more easily created. Like our thoughts
Yes.
become reality faster. Like what might have taken years takes days now. It seems like it's a planetary thing that's happening. Nobody believes me, but everybody believes me. So I like to talk, when I talk to another author, are you seeing, what is your perspective of this shift? Do you believe there's a shift? Do you see it? Do you feel it?
Oh, absolutely. I believe it. I see it. It's happening faster. I feel there is I'm just going to give you my take on it. I feel things are happening a lot faster because it has to, because I believe even before the pandemic, I think we were already at the brink of our own extinction because our leaders, our government leaders and so on, were far more interested in killing each other than they were in feeding each other. I mean, in terms of nations, nations were more interested in killing each other than feeding each other. They were more interested in comparing the size of their nuclear weapons. We were already on the brink of our own extinction. And it was when all that was going on that I started writing Sensitive is the New Strong, because I started to worry for the condition of the planet, that when would come a time when our governments are actually more interested in using our resources, our technology, our resources, our money, instead of, again, killing each other, using it to actually feed the world. Because remember, if everybody's needs are met, we're not going to harm other people. We're going to want to help other people. So that's why I started writing the book Sensitive is the New Strong. Interestingly, I felt that the pandemic is a divine intervention of some sort. It brought the world to its knees. There is nothing that I can think of that has brought the world to its knees the way this has. And I don't care if people, whether people, I'm not going to go into the politics of it. It doesn't matter what you believe, whether, or, about any of it, the vaccine, or whether it's where the pandemic started, or let's forget about all of that. But the fact that this thing has brought the world to its knees, it's far bigger. This whole thing is far bigger than us. It's bigger than our governments. It's bigger than the argument about the vaccines or anything. It has actually brought the world to its knees, and it's made us rethink our lives and how we want to move forward. I truly believe that this is a time, and of course my heart goes out to everybody who's suffering. It absolutely does. And I'm talking about this more from a view from above perspective, from a death perspective, from the other realm perspective. My heart truly does go out to everybody. But from a other realm perspective, the planet couldn't keep going the way it was going anyway. It just couldn't. So now is the time for empaths and people, sensitive people, to actually step up. It really is the time for us to kind of step in, because I really believe that the bigger issue in this world, and this 2020 has highlighted it, the bigger issue is the divisiveness among us.
Yes.
The bigger issue is that the divisiveness, the greed and the power of the few and all of this. And it's been highlighted. And it was always beneath the surface, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't have exploded and bubbled over at this point. And we need to actually come together now. We're being called to do this, to come together and to actually have conversations and to stop judging each other regardless of each other's views. You know, families are breaking up because of this. But no, we have to listen. We're being called to come together. We're being called to listen. We're being called to partner up and to work together. If we are able to have conversations, if we are able to listen, if we're able to understand each other, understand why people are fearing what they feel, fearing what they fear, understand why people are fearing and how to alleviate that fear. If we can understand it, we could actually resolve this a lot faster than we think we can. I actually also believe, and I apologize if this sounds too way out there, but I actually believe that we are getting a lot of divine intervention right now, a lot more than we think. And the future does not have to be negative. We just have to, and it won't be. That's the thing. I still feel a lot of optimism for our future. I really do.
Yeah, I feel hope,
and it's
but the what you're talking about is so obvious and clearly there. Such division. Everybody's in their own bubbles of reality. And some groups are co-opting these spiritual ideas as a form of manipulation on some levels, you know. But at the same
yes.
time, there's this terrible misnomer, myth that you hear so much, that being empathic is weak. Like, we would never vote for that person because they care too much. And that has to be, we have to get rid of this idea that somebody that's super empathic, a leader that came along that was super empathic, is somehow weak. Right?
This is the crux of the book. The crux of the book, Sensitive is the New Strong, is that we have to change the metrics of what strength means. And I want to share this with you, like a couple of things, so many examples I can give you. When I realized that I was an empath, so, Wayne Dyer throws me in the spotlight, and suddenly I'm out there talking to hundreds of thousands of people, and I'm getting all this feedback, including criticism, pushback, skepticism, whatever. And I'm dealing with all this, but not dealing with it very well because I don't understand. I'm an empath, and for an empath, any form of criticism and all is very loud. It's like that person who can suddenly hear and yeah. So when I realized, then I read somewhere about empaths, and I'm like, oh my God, that's me. I'm an empath. And it was like the lights went on. It was amazing because, but then the next phase was that, okay, so I'm an empath, but I'm out here in the public eye. Let me find other empaths who are out in the public eye and see how they deal with it, so that I can see them as my mentors. I'm looking and looking for empaths in the public eye. I thought, okay, I have peers who are empaths, but I wanted to find an empath leader, someone who'd made a mark in the world so that I could look up to them. And you know what? Let me name a few empaths that I found who had made a mark in the world. There was Gandhi. There was Mother Teresa. And I'm saying they're empaths by knowing their story. And I thought, yeah, that's an empath character. Yeah, that's an empath character. Can't rest until they get this right. Everybody's taken care of. And there was Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was a healer, died young because he could not say no to everybody that wanted his help. Here's the common denominator they all had. They all died poor and destitute. So I thought to myself, isn't that interesting? We live in a world that does not support empaths. and they all died poor and destitute. And I thought, I don't want to die poor and destitute.
Right.
I don't want to get sick again. Edgar Cayce got sick because he was helping heal the world and he couldn't say no to people. I don't want to get sick again. That's why I got sick in the first place. I got sick because I was an empath and didn't know it and wanted to help everybody. So I thought, and anybody I want as a mentor has died poor and destitute. So I thought, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out some tools. That was the birth of the book, Sensitive is the New Strong. That was the driving force. And I realized that we need to change our metrics around money, because for empaths are driven to spirituality like moths to a flame. But empaths and spiritual people, our views around money are completely messed up. Completely messed up. Because on the one hand, you have people who are not empaths that are very happy to go down the greed route and hoard all the money in the world and not help the poor people. On the other hand, you have the empaths who think, oh, money's bad. Money's not spiritual. I can't take money for what I do. It's not spiritual if I do. And so they're poor and destitute. And then all they do is complain and judge the rich people for not helping the poor and needy. Why don't you earn the money so that you can help the poor and needy?
I have several fans that follow my channel, and I know certain ones are definitely empaths. And those are the ones, when I do an episode on money, on some wealth affirmations or prosperity, they come on and say, you know, money's terrible. And really, if I could just change that one tiny little belief that money is evil, that it's this belief that is so powerful in empaths. I know what you're saying. They could be so wealthy if they could just let go of this one limiting belief that, you know, and a lot of times I think if you understand, you can help other people out more if you have
much more. Do you know, if empaths allowed themselves to be wealthy, we would cure world hunger.
Cure it.
We would cure world hunger.
Exactly.
But because empaths are not allowing themselves to receive and to be wealthy, but we are fine if those who don't have the empathy to run sweatshops and continue to exploit people, we seem to be fine with that. With having that, and empaths will say, no, I'm not fine with that. I'm out there fighting against them. How about instead of fighting, you allow yourself to receive and be abundant so that you can go and help those people?
It could be the secret to changing the world is the empaths need to get rich. It's okay if you're empathic out there. I give you permission. You can do it, because if we all decide to finally make some money and be prosperous, we can use that and we will change the world. Because, and I see it, I believe it. I believe it's happening very slowly, because these beliefs are so hardened.
They are
deep down from our parents to when we were, you know, mom said, hey, money doesn't grow on trees. You know, told me that all the time, right? And now I know, you know, and that it's very, you know, that person over there is rich because he's evil. These beliefs are so deeply ingrained.
Yes, one of the beliefs is that money is the root of all evil. Exactly.
Right.
And that's so ingrained in people. Money is not spiritual. Another one is you can't have everything. So if you are loving and kind and all, you don't have the ability to make money. Or there's all these beliefs that are entrenched. But what I want, and the belief that money is the root of all evil, that's a deep one. What I want empaths to know is that when you are an empath, and for you, helping other people, and this is the thing with empaths, because you feel the emotions of other people, you feel their pain, you need them to feel good so that you can feel good. So helping other people is second nature to you. It's like breathing. You're not going to stop helping other people. But learning to receive is not second nature to you. And so that is what you have to work at. You don't have to work at helping other people. When you receive and when you are abundant, you are automatically going to help other people. It's a given. So that's what I want empaths to know. And the more you receive, the more people you can help.
Such a simple idea. that will change the world. Such a wonderful message that you have. So I'm telling everybody, please go out and get all of Anita's books, Dying to Be Me, What If This Is Heaven, and Sensitive is the New Strong. And if you're empathic like me, Anita is the empath whisperer. She can help you with these problems. She can help you there. It's okay. What you're going through is totally normal and it's okay. And there's someone that's here to help. And so thank you for helping me in understanding this. Because there's not a lot of places out there that they're helping empaths. And it's a very common thing in the world. So thank you, and keep on. I can't wait for your next book. Your books are amazing. And I'm so glad that you made the choice to come back so that we could get your wonderful wisdom. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian, for having me on your show.
And welcome to the Reality Revolution. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm just really excited today because this is the first day that my book is released. This is it, the Reality Revolution. Worked on this for a very long time. So many of the things that I discovered along the way, and I was excited to share it with everybody. Tell you a little bit about it. I'm like everybody else. I'm interacting in the world and starting to realize that my thoughts created reality. As I did this, I started to see some major shifts in my reality. I started to explore the idea of maneuvering through parallel realities. I'm your host, Brian Scott.